spent like more than 1.5 billion pounds for the
2 billion
for the last 3 years.
Their fans protested spending wasteful 2 billion pounds.
But Joseph, help me make sense out of this. You sold Madueke.
You go to Garnacho.
You got Gittins. Gittins cost almost 60 million pounds for Dortmund.
100 million for Garnacho.
So two left wingers. But by the way, Gittins did not score any Premier League.
He did.
Garnacho scored one. I think he scored one.
They got Neto.
They got
Neto.
Estival,
Williams,
and the rest.
They were comparing that guy. They were comparing that guy with Lamine Yamal.
And they got Liam. Let's talk about what they did in the summer.
I said what they got was Lamine, not Lamine Yamal.
They got Zamina.
So Joseph, they got Liam Delap, Garnacho, Gittins. This guy cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
They really made any impact on Chelsea?
Well, I think for Chelsea, we have to look at how the club has been run over time. Aside from the Abramovich era, if you're looking at the Todd Boehly era, the Bluco era, the defense, the Sassi, Badiashile, those guys.
Yeah.
But if you look at how Chelsea have always recruited players, I think the philosophy of the club is sign the, potential young stars or the potential to be stars. And then,
after 2 years, sell them.
Exactly.
They come out again for less than 30 million.
And they sold him. Well, Arsenal just fell for that. I'll say.
He's an English player. That comes with you signing an English player.
Of course, that does make sense. But I think at the end of the day, for Chelsea, if we're looking at how they've gone about their season, they've been okay. There was this story bringing up from Stamford Bridge, the fact that Joe Shield, one of their scouting directors, he was looking at data. And the data suggested that Garnacho was potentially better than Ryan Cherki. So which data is it Opta? which system?
Startman Day.
It doesn't just make sense the way these guys have gone around their season.
One thing I
Where clubs in England splashed the cash before the start of the season, and some even spent a lot of money in the January transfer window. Some players turned out to be big hits, while some have been regarded as flops. Welcome to an edition of Sports Hangout. My name is Toby. I've got my guys here as usual. I have Joseph and of course JJ. Let me start with Joseph. Joseph, let's start with Arsenal, the Premier League champions.
Yeah.
It's always good to start with champions.
Of
because
course.
they won the title. Let's start with champions. The money that they spent in the summer, do you think that they got value for their money?
Well, Toby, I think it just makes sense the way these guys have gone out talking about Arsenal Football Club. And let's be particular, I think the transfers have been spearheaded not just by Mikel Arteta. Remember, Andre Berta, the sporting director, joined from Atletico Madrid. And we saw a lot of seasons, about 12 seasons he spent at the club, where Atletico won about 6 trophies, including the La Liga. So, of course, Andre Berta came with that knowledge of scouting talented players and scouting players that can work with the squad. Of course, when Arsenal were signing defenders, a lot of people were like, you guys have Saliba and Gabriel. But some people forget that it's a marathon. You play 38 games in a season, and you're not just playing the English Premier League, you're playing in other competitions. The signing of Christian Mosquera, he was able to settle in the defensive line for Arsenal. And of course, he did the fringe player kind of job at Arsenal, and he did it well. Of course, the signings of versatile, that was an advantage for Arsenal in the defense line. We were not only just seeing Saliba, Gabriel, and at some point in time where any of these guys had knocks. Remember, in previous seasons, these guys were always the standing defenders for Arsenal. So of course, the defensive line really works for them, having Raya at the back, then having the backup of Christian Mosquera, and of course Timber at some point in time he was out injured. Remember, they also signed Piero Hincapié, who really played not just that defensive role, he played as a left back for Arsenal at some point in time in the season, where a lot of people had question marks that Arteta used to start this youngster, Miles Kelly. So why was Miles Kelly being benched and Hincapié was? But Hincapié brought the experience to the team, which was what mattered again in that defensive line for Arsenal. Looking forward, of course, we're seeing the likes of Declan Rice. These guys were, at the club for quite a while. Of course, Martin Odegaard in that midfield position. But looking at the attacking positions,
Just
Not-
because Martin Zubimendi.
Martin Zubimendi in that defensive midfield role.
Yeah.
And of course, he had experience also coming into that team from Real Sociedad, if I'm correct. So, of course, these guys were very key to Arsenal's squad building at the end of the day. But I think a question mark with Arsenal signing was Noni Madueke. I mean, a lot of people would have said that this guy was just a washed player coming from Chelsea.
There was mass abuse.
Madueke got 5 Premier League goals for Arsenal. I think he has 10 goal contribution for Arsenal in the Premier League.
Yeah, of course. But look,
As a backup.
As a backup.
He's not even a starter. As a
yes,
backup.
because Saka almost all through the season, he was not the Saka we're seeing in previous season. He looked like, aside from injuries that he had, it looked like he was getting tired in a way. So, of course, it was sensible for Arteta to go out there and get a backup, which was Madueke at the end of the day. And yes, he played his role for Arsenal Football Club, but a lot of people would still say that Madueke, the quality was not as. Of course, you will not say Saka in Madueke.
Of course,
it's not possible. Madueke always plays like he thinks just forward.
One of the big centre forward that he got, Victor Gyökeres.
Of course, that is the highlight of Arsenal.
21 goals across the competitions, 14 in the Premier League.
Yeah, remember at the start of his career at Arsenal, a lot of people were questioning if this guy could actually even score goals.
Yeah.
And of course, we have to look at it in perspective because Arteta did not initially want, or his focus was not initially on Gyökeres. Remember, United were going for Gyökeres because Ruben Amorim knew Gyökeres from the league. But looking at Benjamin Sesko, I think Arteta was more tilted because of the big frame kind of forward striker. And one thing we have to look at Arsenal seasons before. Arsenal were not always the team to rely on a striker.
Yeah.
So
play
false nine. I mean, so of course I will say Arteta got that from his master, talking about Pep Guardiola. I remember some seasons at City, there was no big forward right there, and
he went to sign Erling Haaland.
They went to sign Erling Haaland, and they won the Champions League.
Yeah.
So of course we were seeing Kai Havertz at some point in time in that striking role. But they needed a defining.
They got value for most of the guys that they brought in.
Of course they did from the squad
but
players.
what of Kepa? The backup goalkeeper. I mean,
Kepa played like Nepa. I mean, in that sense, of course, it was quite important, especially in their cup run.
Games,
but
that mistake against Manchester City.
That was heralded the Kepa that some of us
when it mattered most.
When it mattered, remember that error where he was trying to parry the ball, and instead of punching it, he dropped the ball, and of course, City were able to capitalize on it. So Raya needed a backup, and he got a backup. Kepa played on loan to Real Madrid.
Yes.
But at some point, he was still left out of the squad, and Andre Lunin was starting. So, of course, I think the signings generally were very decent. And Andre Beta,
contributed to Arsenal winning titles.
of course, Andre Beta did the Lord's job, and he did it well at that.
JJ, let me come to you. I will start with Manchester United. Before we talk about Manchester City, let's start with United.
That's always the
United
team.
got Brony Bremo,
Always the
signed
team.
attacking players, Benjamin Sesko came in. He got a lot of guys.
Yeah,
and some of them took time to settle in. I mean, how do you rate the transfer business of Manchester United and their impact in the season?
Yeah, I think we had 3 players coming, 3 forward players coming, and got 10 plus goals, and that's the first time in Premier League that's happened. 10 plus goals. I'm talking about forwards.
Yeah,
it happened with Arsenal, but all of them weren't forwards. You had Santi Cazorla, who was more of a midfielder, and so yes, I think they contributed. And you look at last season, one of our major problems was the goals. The goals. I think Man United managed to score just 58 goals all through the season. But then this season, even just 3 players have got 30 plus goals for Man United
thanks
alone.
To Bruno Fernandes.
Thanks to
Bruno, who is giving them.
well, thanks to Bruno, but then they were also important, and so especially Sesko, this second half of the season, Sesko was. In fact, I tell you that United fans will tell you that they miss those games that Sesko didn't play. Those 2 or 3 games that he didn't play. Eventually, even Bruno Fernandes will miss him because he sort of have this connection with Fernandes. Overall, the rating, you have Sesko, you have Cunha. Cunha was just brilliant.
I mean, he scored some
was brilliant this season.
The goal against Arsenal at the Emirates Stadium, fantastic goal.
It was brilliant this season. So you have Mbeumo too. He lost form.
Very well.
He lost form along the way, but
he just went off.
he eventually got 2 goals in the last 2 games. So I think he picked up eventually. Then you have Benjamin Chesko, who the second half, the first half of the season, he wasn't really playing. He was more or less used sub and all that. But the second half,
What of your goalkeeper?
it was now
That guy
What a revelation.
yeah, that guy was a lot of people had question marks over him because 18 million pounds for a goalkeeper. Now, if you are signing a player for something like 20 million pounds, 30 million pounds now, the fans will not be convinced.
Yeah.
They will think you are signing just a fringe average player. But it was a massive upgrade on Onana. I mean, defenders, they had calm. They had confidence knowing that they were in safe hands. Not like Onana. Many things. So I think in that respect too, it was really crucial. 133 or 135 saves throughout the season, and the record save was 136. So it's really important. And, all four of them,
and even his left back,
even the left back. And then so you just have that they were. Or to be honest, I don't think there's any player.
Always get better.
They can always get better.
Second season,
and then we can always. It's about now finding balance in that team, and they can only kick off from there.
Joseph, let's talk about Liverpool. I mean, many people have said the reason why Liverpool struggled this season is because most of their new signings didn't fit into the philosophy of Ancelotti, the manager, and they cost a lot of money. I mean, Milos Kekes, Alexander Isak, those guys cost a lot of money. I want you to talk about the impact of those signings. This season, do you think that Liverpool they misbuy? Let me use that English, and they spent a lot of money. Alexander Isak, 130 million pounds. A player who has Premier League experience, who was scoring for Newcastle United, he came to over 100. To be fair to him, also got injured. But let's talk about Liverpool. Did they? What went wrong with their transfer activities?
Well, for Liverpool, when we're looking at it, seems that most people have always concluded that they don't spend much.
Yeah, they spend a lot.
Yeah, almost quite similar to what we were seeing with Arsenal under the Arsene Wenger era. Yeah. I think Jurgen Klopp, looking at those signings and looking at the money Arsenal were spending, he will be punching the wall, saying that maybe why was he still at the club? But it just goes to say that, of course, the hierarchy of Liverpool, they wanted an intentional transfer window. The fact that Jurgen Klopp was already gone, they spent money. And the biggest problem they had, especially with players like Florian Wirtz and Isak, the price tag versus the impact.
Yes.
Florian Wirtz, he played about 49 games this season for Liverpool. 7 goals, 8 assists.
That's not good enough for that money. If you are signing for 50 million pounds, maybe.
Of course.
For that kind of money,
I mean, when you see the likes of Bruno Fernandes, when you see the numbers that these guys are churning up, even when Kevin De Bruyne was in the English Premier League, as an attacking midfielder, you need to be. I mean, you may not score as much goals.
The supply line between the midfield and the attack. So that's what you've got.
So, and I think JJ said this once at a point. The fitting of Wirtz. So Liverpool had always played more like a flat midfield.
Yes.
So that I was always wondering how they were going to do with. Of course, Endo was not really a main starter. Gravenberch was there, of course, playing like the defensive midfielder role. McAllister was there. Szoboszlai was there. So more or less, the 3 midfield was already sorted out.
Exactly.
So how would you now have Florian Wirtz? Who were you going to bench?
He's also versatile. He can play as a winger.
As a winger.
As a number 10. As a number 10.
But when you have the likes of Gakpo,
as a number 10.
As a number 10 this season. So, of course, looking at how Liverpool were going to fit in these players, there were big question marks.
And their defensive reinforcement.
Liverpool used to have Fabinho. Yeah. So, I'm not saying... Gravenberch has been fantastic for Liverpool, especially last season. This season, we maybe saw him less towards even the tail end of the season. But looking at the signings, Frimpong
that guy costs a lot of money. He's not a right back. He's a right wing back.
Remember when
so
Salah was...
So fit him as a back four.
When Salah was...
This is how he used to work with Liverpool. When they see Trent Arnold. Trent Arnold would more or less, when you have the likes of Gravenberch, the likes of McAllister go forward, Trent Arnold was more or less inverted into the midfield.
Yeah.
Frimpong couldn't do that. Yeah. And that was why, for most of the season, he ended up using Szoboszlai as right back. Just to perform that function.
Yeah.
Which means Arnold was a natural right back. Yeah. So he could know when to slot into the midfield and when to cover up the defense again. That's something you couldn't get with Szoboszlai. Szoboszlai, once he inverted the midfield, he only knew to... And then he also bump forward to score.
Yeah. And that cover was not there again.
But that's why I said they were exposed.
And for Arnold, even if as much as he was more or less an attacking,
Yet
he was still able to cover in some sort. But Frimpong, remember, Frimpong was played in some periods ahead of Salah. Salah had some injury crisis, and Frimpong would give you more on the attacking
Exactly.
end. But the defensive, and Kekesh from
Yeah,
Bournemouth
one of
did
their
not really.
backup goalkeeper to Alisson. That guy cost a lot of money.
I think he did perform
Did he
well
try?
towards after a few games where he had a few
a few blunders.
fleeting moments, but he covered up.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
60 million.
I
I got to know he cost 60 million.
Yeah, so
for
as a
Liverpool.
backup goalkeeper,
You don't even call that one backup. 60 million. How do you come back up 60 million?
it just shows you
It's like-
how
it's just
porous
like
the market has
it's just like teams ripped Liverpool of last season so much. I don't know. How do you 60 million on a backup?
for a goalkeeper.
and for me, the biggest one came for Liverpool, the forward line, particularly the striker they got,
Yeah.
Isak.
Yes.
If Liverpool had known that this was how it was going to end, I think it was more or less like
But they said Ekitike first. I mean,
Yorubas-
why getting Ekitike and Isak?
Ekitike's start and Ekitike's record would not suggest that he would have that kind of
Exactly.
season. And
Yeah.
it was coming from the German Bundesliga.
Yes.
Remember when Chelsea signed a certain Kai Havertz?
Yeah.
I remember his first game. There was a ball this guy played and he just went haywire. So somehow in recent times, some signings from the German league, the Italian league were not always
Yeah.
hitting
That's
the
why
ground
let's
running.
get him-
Let's get
Premier League
he's a
experience.
very
Proven.
proven player.
Yeah.
So of course, and it did not end well for them. Even the replacement of Isak did better.
Yeah.
They're talking about Nick Waterman
Exactly.
for Newcastle. So of course, the Isak signing was a very big undoing for Liverpool, and of course,
Expensive mistake.
expensive mistake. And of course, I
Really
think,
expensive.
of course, it's not the fault of anyone. The loss of Diogo Jota was
Yeah.
a very
Yeah, that's,
big
quite
one to the
unfortunate.
squad.
Yeah.
Very big.
Quite
And
unfortunate.
Luis Diaz should never have left Liverpool. They should have
Yes.
given him the amount he wanted at that point. in
Yeah,
time.
they
It was a
mutilated
very-
the winning team.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
brought in new faces, fresh. These people that had no philosophy that was related to what you had before. So you can always expect what happened to Liverpool.
All right, Dave, let's talk about Manchester City. Man City spent a lot of money. Remember
Yeah.
before the Club World Cup, and in January they got Antoine Semenyo and Maguire. Those two guys were really instrumental for City challenging Arsenal. But other signings that City got, Ryan Cherky, Cherky too was at the start it was
He
shaky,
did well.
but
He eventually
was,
did
but
well.
not Tijani Rangers. That guy cost a lot of money
Ah,
from
Yeah,
AC Milan.
exactly.
Nico Gonzalez.
Nico
Yeah.
Gonzalez, those guys cost a lot of money. But
Exactly.
did they impact Manchester City?
No, well, you look at Tijani Rangers, for instance.
Yeah.
I think now
He's a central
they
midfielder.
are considering selling him back to AC Milan,
AC
or
Milan.
just getting him off. That tells you the impact he had. I don't need to say much about that. Nico Gonzalez, the moment Rodri got injured, there was a talk that Manchester City's season was finished.
Yeah.
And look at the next two games after, truly. The game against Everton, the game against Bournemouth, that there was so much instability. And tells you how important Rodri is to that team. So I'm now beginning to wonder if Rodri do go to Real Madrid this season, maybe we have Manchester City as a team fighting back for top 4 now, or top 3. Just they can't be competing in the Premier League because that position is just so important. Then you have Cherky. Yes, Cherky was really important. He got assists and he did well
Maybe the
towards
second
the.
half of the season.
Then you have Antoine Semenyo, like you
Semenyo.
said, who he just found scoring goals quite easy for Manchester City,
Yeah.
and it was
What of
contributing.
their goalkeeper? Donnarumma?
Unfortunately, Maguire was good
Yeah.
and bad.
Yeah.
All of his good. That one moment.
I think it was just pressure playing for.
The what of Donnarumma?
That was rookie moment from an experience. Then Donnarumma,
Yeah.
my words, Donnarumma was
PSG's lost.
fantastic.
PSG's lost.
Yeah.
Because to be honest,
Although he's not,
coming to the
he's not
Premier
a
League,
super, but
he's
he
not
also made
he's
a
not
mistake against
super goal.
Arsenal. Because
Yeah.
if you're not a super goalkeeper, I mean, you are not
One
used to
mistake. Did he?
using that mistake against Arsenal, the Havertz.
Kyle, yeah.
Yes,
Oh
remember?
yeah,
Yes,
of
yes.
course. But they did go on to win, and
Yeah.
he was happy. But you look at the number of saves, you look at the type of saves he made, then you understand that.
The third goalkeeper, he made one save against Liverpool. That
Oh my God.
Van Beek was
Oh
surprised.
my! I was surprised. Everyone watching football was surprised,
And they got him for how much? Less than 30 million pounds.
I think that just
and
highlights
it's only just 26.
Manchester City.
Yes.
Because even Ryan Cherky, see the amount he was gotten.
Yeah.
Garnacho costed more than Cherky. So
We will talk about Chelsea. in a
And-
bit.
and-
Why you are
I think-
referring to
I-
what champion?
I think a flop in a way that you may consider for Man City has to be the second keeper. Remember, Trafford was gotten
Is
before.
Trafford is flop because
Well, he didn't really play much. He didn't have the
Trafford
chance to
was
play
good
more.
in top competitions, the
Yeah.
FA Cup and the Carabao
It
Cup.
was unfortunate that
And they won both trophies.
it
By
was
the way.
unfortunate that he got Man City went to buy Donnarumma eventually.
Yeah.
So I bet Donnarumma was.
Yeah.
I just like the guy, honestly.
All right, Joseph, let's talk about the world champions.
Yeah.
Chelsea. Chelsea have spent like more than 1.5 billion pounds for the
$2 billion.
for the last
Yeah.
3 years.
Ah,
They spent-
their fans protested spending wasteful
Yeah.
£2 billion.
Yeah.
but Joseph, help me make sense out of this.
Yeah.
You sold Madueke,
You got
you
Garnacho.
got Garnacho, you got Gittins. Gittins cost almost 60 million pounds
Yeah,
for Dortmund.
100 million for Garnacho.
So
and
two
Madueke.
left wingers. But by the way, Gittins did not score any Premier League.
Nah, he did not.
Garnacho scored one. I
Yeah.
think he scored one.
They got Neto.
They got
Neto.
Neto. Yeah, they got
Estival
Neto,
Williams.
Estival.
and the rest.
They were comparing
That
that
makes
guy. They were
sense.
comparing that guy with Lamine Yamal.
And they got Liam
Liam,
Let's
yeah.
talk about what they did in the
I
summer.
said
They attacking
what they
midfield.
got was Lamine, not Lamine Yamal.
They got Zamina.
So Joseph, they got
Yeah.
Liam Delap,
Yeah.
Garnacho, Gittins. This guy cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
But they really made any impact
Well,
on Chelsea.
well, I think for Chelsea, we have to look at how the club has been run over time. Aside from the Abramovich era, if you're looking at the Todd Bowley
And
era,
then
the
Atto, the
Bruco
defense,
era,
those guys.
the defense, the Sassi Badiashile, those guys.
Yeah.
But if you look at how Chelsea have always recruited players, I think the philosophy of the club is sign the, potential
Yes.
young stars or the potential
Exactly.
to be stars. And then,
They after 2 years, sell it.
after 2 years, sell them. Yeah, exactly.
They got Madueke for less than 30 million
30
pounds.
million,
Sold him to
and they
Arsenal
sold him.
for 50
Well,
million pounds.
Arsenal just fell for that. I'll say.
He's an English player.
yeah, well,
the
is-
premium that comes with you signing an English player.
of course, that does make sense. But I think at the end of the day, for Chelsea, if we're looking at how they've gone about their season, they've been okay. There was this story bringing up from Stamford Bridge, the fact that Joe Shield, one of their scouting directors, he was looking at data. And the data suggested that Garnacho was potentially better than Ryan Cherki. So which data is it Opta? which system?
Start Monday.
Was it?
Garnacho.
It doesn't just make sense the way these guys have gone around their
But
season.
One thing-
because he has Premier League experience.
One thing
For a player who has been playing for United for a long time.
Yes, I understand.
Yes,
I
now.
understand they are leaning towards Garnacho, to be honest.
Yeah.
To be honest, but Chelsea was an unsettled team at that moment.
Yeah.
Look, if they had given Maresca the chance,
Yeah.
Maresca still found a system around these players.
Yeah.
But then
I think they beat
the
us.
only thing that still bothers me about that Chelsea transfer over the couple of seasons they've made now is how do you go out splashing money so much that you forget to sign experienced defenders?
They got Atto, JJ.
When you
Yeah,
lose,
I-
when you
because-
lose Thiago Silva,
Did
and
you,
you're
did you,
getting
did
out
you
to
hear what I said? Experienced defender.
defenders.
Ato.
Even Adarabio,
When did you? I only got to know of Ato. I only had the name Ato this season.
But JJ, when you already have
Did you hear Ato before?
JJ, you already have Wesley Fofana, who cost 70 million.
That's why I said you need experience.
Injury Fofana, you mean?
Okay.
You
Injury-
need experience. Look at Malanga
Sarr.
Sarr against PSG, for
That
God's
game-
sake.
that game-
An experienced defender wouldn't do that. Or if they are an experienced defender, would know how to cover.
You could have just cleared that boy.
So that team, there was no experience at the back at all.
And
One bit.
Caicedo will not do all the work.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's left the need.
a Premier League goal for Chelsea.
who?
I'm not- they are-
Delap.
this-
I think he got one.
I think he did.
one. And he has
30 million
also has a red card.
Someone said that guy should be playing maybe American football, not the British
They are now
football.
wondering who is the best floor between him and Garnacho. They don't know.
No, I think Delap here because he was playing for Ipswich. You remember United were after Delap.
He rejected my
He rejected United.
Because you guys
We're not playing
really
Champions League.
Garnacho said he wanted the step up. Now they are playing one game.
No.
Now they are playing one game a season next year.
No, but
He wanted the step up.
it's playing for the world champions. So maybe that is a
That's the
step
step up.
At the end of the day.
Before we wrap up, I want to talk about Newcastle United.
Yeah.
when they lost Alexander Isak, I thought that club was going to crumble. Of course,
Yeah.
they did struggle this season. But
Yeah.
they got Votamade, a player who can play as a striker, and
Yeah.
play as a number 10.
Yeah.
Do you think that guy replaced Alexander Isak?
Well, I think he did. He
At the,
did.
at the start of the
Money,
season,
he did.
he was doing well,
Yeah, he was.
but he paled off. Unfortunately, Johan Wissa they got that.
Yeah.
That one was complete
Was-
shambles
was it? Yeah.
all through the
And
season.
one thing that I like,
he
yeah,
went
yeah.
on strike at Brentford, and he
Brentford.
wasn't playing for Brentford to cause that move.
Yeah, and one thing I like about Newcastle is Eddie Howe has been a smart coach. Let's give it to him. Aside from how they've ended their season in 10th position or whatever position they ended it this season, look at how he was able to transform Joe Linton. Look at how he was able to transform the midfield, Bruno Guimaraes and all. So I think remember at some point, Anthony Gordon was starting as a 9. And he was scoring goals in the Champions League. He was the highest goal scorer in the Champions League for Newcastle. And he was breaking records.
Yeah.
So I think reinventing that position, Nick Waterman playing behind Anthony Gordon was fantastic for me. So I think Newcastle this season, they have underperformed because of the investment by their standards. So we would expect Newcastle to be vying for the Champions League, European places, but now they are nowhere to be found. Maybe next season there may be question marks about Eddie Howe's future at the club. But Nick Watermada, I think to a
They
certain
lost some
extent,
really questionable games this season.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have.
yeah.
JJ, before we go, Tottenham Hotspur. I mean, they got some players before the start of the season were injury. Mohamed Kudus from West Ham United. I mean, good signing, but it started very well. Then injury came. And how will you rate the performance of Tottenham Hotspur in the transfer market? Also, goes about that they got a backup goalkeeper too.
Yeah.
You know, they made a mistake.
Yeah, Kinski.
You know, Kinski doing a Kinski.
But he did save them yesterday.
Yeah.
He made a
Yeah,
fantastic save
yeah,
yesterday.
yeah.
So, and well, you judging by Tottenham's performance this
Yeah.
season, you can almost judge the type of transfer they had.
Terrible.
I mean, sometimes you just know that you are buying players. I look at teams sometimes, and then are they just buying players, or do they have a profile of player they set
they
they
want,
set to
yeah.
buy? Because you cannot just go out there buy every Tom, Dick, and Harry. You find there's going to be a
You have
problem
to
in that
meticulous
team.
in that, definitely. Yeah.
And that's what happened with Tottenham. They were only lucky,
Yeah.
inches away from
Relegated.
that profile worked somehow in Europe,
But in the
but it
league,
never did in the league.
he struggled.
Yeah, and I think the shining light with their transfers this season was Xavi Simons. He
Yeah.
showed a little bit of
Who
quality.
unfortunately
but-
He
got
also
injured.
Yeah.
he came close to joining Chelsea.
Yeah, yeah.
Very
And-
close.
Yeah.
Somehow Gallagher.
Yeah, they got him in
Yeah.
January.
And this guy João
Paulinho.
Paulinho,
Yeah,
In fact, his goal was the difference between West Ham and Tottenham yesterday.
of course.
Okay. Well, money have been spent. I'm very sure. I mean, the summer transfer window will open in June. But I'm very sure that teams in England right
They're already busy.
yeah, they are busy.
They're already busy. Man United have agreed personal
Yes.
Even
terms
Chelsea,
with Ederson.
has already started agreeing
They
up
want
and down.
signing. I don't
Don't mind those ones. I don't know. You can spend £2 billion and still be agreeing personal terms. Should they be agreeing? Who are the players even agreeing terms with Chelsea? What do you agree terms with that
I think
team?
at this point, even if JJ wants to play for Chelsea, they will
They
start
will
with
agree.
They will start with 10-year contract.
And that's the point.
10 years.
They don't sign you on short number of years. Always long contract.
You will play a decade.
Always long contract. If I get there,
Even
I start
Jackson.
playing two.
Even
He's
Jackson.
still coming back.
Yeah.
They don't know where to get him out.
Jackson
from.
Berry is better than Leandela.
But somehow,
Of
the
course,
thing
of
about
course.
Chelsea is they always find a way to sell players.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, they do.
Even if
High price,
they are selling their battery.
United,
they know how to
Arsenal will always buy. Arsenal will
Let's see which player Arsenal will buy this. Maybe Arsenal will eventually buy Garnacho.
So that's so sad. They want to sign back. Football fans, I mean,
From Bacola to ending up with Garnacho.
football fans, I mean, Arsenal fans, Chelsea fans, Liverpool fans, I mean, how will you raise the performance of your team in the summer transfer window, and were they impactful on your team?
Yeah, I think one of these days we are going to have to do team of the season.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Team of transfer of the season,
and flop of the
team
season.
of the season, and flop of the season.
Definitely. We'd like to
Watch out for that.
We'd like
Very
to
soon
get,
we'll
we'd
drop
like
that.
to get your comment, your reaction.
Even managers that are coming now, manager of the season,
we'll do that
incoming
one.
manager,
We'll do that one.
a lot of these things, yeah,
Definitely.
because there's just
Next
going to
season
be
we'll do it.
interesting.
We need to get the World Cup over the line first.
Yeah.
Before we talk about
Where we are going to look at England.
Definitely. Well, let's get your comments, your reaction, I mean, on our YouTube channel and of course on other social media as well.
Yeah.
Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. We'll be very happy to hear from you. Until next time that we are going to come, I remain Toby.
I'm JJ. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our videos. turn on notification bell to get updates from us as we drop content. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, it's been a nice time. I'm Joseph. Thank you for having me.